Now, young people are almost 3 times more likely to be unemployed than adults and continuously exposed to lower quality of jobs, greater labor market inequalities, and longer and more insecure school-to-work transitions. Skills and jobs for youth feature prominently in the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, and SDG Target 4.4 calls for a substantial increase in the number of youth and adults who have relevant skills. Ahead of World Youth Skills Day celebrated on 15th July tomorrow, we spoke to Ms. Kendunga from Talent Match, an organization working to solve youth unemployment through career development, mentorship and placements in Rwanda. Hi Alan, good evening and thanks for joining us this evening.
Hi, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
A happy Youth Skills Day in advance as well.
Thank you, and happy Youth Skills Day to you as well.
Well, Alan, today the labor market keeps changing and we see it doesn't match with the knowledge that most young people gain from school, which raises concerns from employees. What do you think youth can do to cope with this?
Well, there's a number of things that young people can do early on, even before they graduate, to really be ready for the market when they graduate. And some of the things are really putting time aside to learn things that are actually marketable on the labor market. Because a lot of times these days you find that we're focused on the syllabus that the school provides, like, you're just learning the math, but you don't really know how to apply it. So my advice would be put aside some time, even when you're still in school, and really acquire some of the marketable skills, the skills that are actually on demand, learn how to work with others, and just really get out of school and network, right? Get to know people in the industry if you're interested in, and just focus on getting ready and understanding what's out there and what you really need to have to be able to actually fit into the market. Yeah.
Sure. We're also seeing more young people staying in school longer than entering the labor market at an early age. What do you think is standing between the youth and decent jobs?
I think quite a number of factors really sometimes force youth to stay in schools. Those who can afford, of course, those who can afford to go ahead and study their masters or their PhDs, they end up actually going for those options. One, because they believe there's no job out there, which is actually not 100% true. And second, because they don't have the right skills. So they think by continuing to get your master's or your PhD that you're actually going to acquire the skills that are needed in the workplace. And I will tell you, you will never be wrong, because the only way to really learn and to be able to master what you do is actually to learn on the job. So one of the barriers is really not possessing the basic skills that are needed for you to even get your foot in the working space for the very first time. The other barrier that I believe actually has limited a lot of young people and taken away a lot of opportunities is attitude. You find that a lot of young people are entitled. They expect they'll graduate, the job will be there, and then, things are just on a linear curve. But that's not really the reality. The reality on the market is really different. And so they need to really be able to have the right attitude, to be proactive, and to invest in their personal growth and also their skills development as well. And that's the only way really to break the barrier to the market, but also from external factors that are not necessarily from the youth. When you look at employers need to understand that these are people, as much as they are coming in to perform and to give high results, these are people who are getting to work for the very first time. And so they need to have the flexibility to really help them learn, and to make sure that they are actually on the right track to succeed long term than focusing on the short term. So it needs to be both employers playing a role and also youth really playing a big role.
Yeah. You speak of investing in youth, and young people have been often called the future of the world. And investing in youth employment requires a collaborative approach to prioritizing job creation while helping youth overcome specific disadvantages through skills and labor market policies. Are we seeing this happening and in particular here in Rwanda? And what can youth do to access these opportunities through organizations like yours?
Yeah, I think there's a bit more collaboration now because people are realizing that the need for skills is actually huge and the skills gap is growing every day, especially among young people. And so you find initiatives like Talent March really stepping in to try and solve that problem. Now, what's really needed to be able to actually give this kind of opportunity to more young people is collaboration between different players and stakeholders. You know, you have institutions like, you know, the Ministry of Education, right? And the institutions where young people are educated. Those working together with private sector, like, you know, Talent March and other players in the space to really figure out how do we work together as a sector. And also, how do we bring opportunities to young people and really help young people get the skills that we're looking for, the skills that the market is looking for, the skills that we don't even need now, but we're actually going to need in the future. So the ability for all these institutions that are playing roles to really collaborate will be one of the defining factors for us to really be able to impact as many youth and to really help young people find themselves in the workspace and to be able to fully, kind of find themselves and their potential and be able to put that to work. So for me, I think where the need is collaboration between different players, so the institutions of education, the ministries and government agencies, and also development partners who are looking to, solve such challenges. There needs to be a synergy between all these players to be able to actually create an impact.
Yeah, Alan, the COVID-19 pandemic has affected everyone in the world and the youth included as well. What's the future of work going to look like post-COVID-19, and then how then can the current young people be able to adapt to a new normal working place? Yeah,
I mean, COVID has definitely disrupted so many things, and youth are actually among the most affected because these are people who are not in school, they're not working because they can't be hired, and those who were hired are probably being laid off because employers want to cut costs. So you're finding a lot of youth really redundant, and this has really become even a bigger problem because of COVID. And one way to really kind of combat that or counterattack that is really to think about how do we spend this time of COVID, and then what happens when COVID is past and we are ready to go back to our lives. And I think one of the things that I would really encourage young people to think about is learning new skills. The world is going digital, and so the youth need to be going digital. And they need to be adapting new skills that will actually set them apart and put them at the forefront of everybody else. And then, of course, institutions and startups and initiatives like ours that are actually coming in to make sure that even when there are pandemics, even when there is disasters, how do we keep youth at work? For example, Talent March is running a program where we actually do kind of talent credits, and the way I describe that is we find a startup or SME that is actually struggling to, hire or have a full team, but they have a need for talent, and we find young people and mostly people that we have worked with, we have trained and match them. And we do that on a free cost. So it's like a pro bono service. And we do that to be able to keep youth at work and also allow SMEs and startups to really survive through this difficult time. And I think, so we need to be creative in ways we can actually support young people to really stay at work, to keep learning. And the only way to really keep them learning and getting the right skills is to put them to work and give them hands-on experience. So my maybe call to action for everyone out there, especially those who can afford to have a young person come in and do a project for them or intern, they should take them on, because this is not just investing in that person for today, but you're really preparing them for tomorrow as well.
Absolutely. Alan, many thanks indeed for your time and for such an insightful conversation.
Thank you very much, Gloria.
All right. Bye-bye.
Happy Youth Skills Day.
Thank you. A happy Youth Skills Day to you too.
Thank you.
Yeah.